Welcome back. Again, my name is Debbie Farthing, and I'm doing a series of videos of items from my collection of antique and vintage clothing. Those of you who watched, shared, commented, liked the video that I put out last week on hats and bonnets from the 1800s, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This week, I'd like to move on to a different accessory, so grab yourself a quarantini and let's talk about purses. So the first kind of bag that I'd like to show you is what is commonly called a miser's bag. They came into popularity in the early 1800s and remained so throughout the century into the 1900s. So let's look at a few examples. The first one that I'd like to show you is this small, probably ladies' bag. In order to get inside, you need to move the rings to one end or the other to go through the slit to access the money. If you'll also notice, each end is a different shape, so you could put gold coins in one end and silver in the other end and keep them separate. This other, much larger bag was probably carried by a man, and it works the same way with the slit and the rings. The size, though, meant that it could be used to carry documents or paper money. You also notice that the ends have fringe and a tassel. This last one that I'd like to show you is a variation on a miser's bag called a string bag. Now, if you pull the flap up, it doesn't just open. Instead, you need to hold the flap up, pull this ring, which separates the strings, and now you can get inside. This bag is also a chatelaine bag, which would have hung from a hook at a woman's waist. This next group of bags, like the miser bags, are all handmade. Patterns for making bags at home through beading them, knitting, crocheting, sewing them were very popular in the ladies' magazines going well into the 1900s. This first bag that I'd like to show you probably dates to the 19-teens or 20s and is particularly sweet. If I hold it up here and show you that on the one side it says dear, and on the other side it says mother. That's a little crudely made, so I highly suspect this one was made by a child. This next bag is an example of a World War II era homemade bag. Pamphlets such as Make, Do, and Mend highly encouraged women to recycle clothing and to make their own accessories. This one features a store-bought wooden handle with a hand-knit body which is stretched over what feels like cardstock. This would have been a good utilitarian piece. This last bag is also an example of a World War II era homemade bag. The body of it is handmade and it is attached to this carved plastic store-bought frame. Plastic and wooden handles and frames came into popularity during World War II in order to save more essential materials for the war effort. These plastic frames also tended to be quite fragile, so I consider it quite lucky that it has actually survived this long. These next two bags I'd like to show you date to the same era, but are actually quite different. This first one has a leather body and a metal frame. There's a lovely Art Nouveau motif on the front, and this probably dates to the mid-teens. The metal frame is stamped Gemco, Jemco. This company supplied frames to many different makers of purses and bags. There is the remnants of the stamp of the maker of this bag on the inside, unfortunately, is illegible. This bag was made by the Whiting and Davis Company. Whiting and Davis was established in 1896, and they introduced this kind of bag, which is made out of a very fine ring mesh in 1907, although this style is more readily identified with the 1920s. They've gone in and out of fashion over the decades. This one, which probably dates to the teens or the 20s, still retains its original lining and its original mirror. This next purse is one of my most favorite purses in my entire collection. It's certainly not because of the style. It's a really rather unprepossessing brown suede clutch. Rather, it's the story behind it that makes this purse so special. I found it in a lock steamer trunk I bought at an estate sale. The purse came from Saks Fifth Avenue and still retains its original mirror. But what makes it really special is the note that I found inside that reads, "This was a quandary. I mean it. Anyway, with love, B." This note came from the owner's boyfriend, and it led me on a nearly 20-year search to track down the owner and her boyfriend's story, which may be featured in an upcoming video. These two purses from the 1950s are ones that I actually like to carry quite often. I purchased them about 20 years apart. This blue one came from an estate sale in Louisiana. This green one I purchased on Etsy just a couple of years ago. Made by Theodore, California, which was in business from about the late 1940s till about 1974. According to an ad that I saw online, they called this their flower basket style. Both purses have a mirror inside the lid, and this blue one actually still retains its original coin purse. I'd like to end with these two really fun 1950s plastic purses. This one here is marked on the bottom, Ascot, NYC, USA. Now, I haven't been able to find out much information about this purse, but I did see an ad online from the Handbags and Accessories trade magazine that dates this exact purse to March of 1955. You can get into the bottom through this metal latch, or you can use this plastic latch to get into the top. This is not made of what I would consider to be a very heavy-duty plastic, so I'm really rather surprised that this latch is not broken and that it has survived all these years in such good condition. This bag is from the well-known Willardy Company. Willardy was in business from about 1946 till about 1979. They made a lot of lucite purses in a lot of different styles and colors. This one was called their accordion style, as it opens with the latch and accordions back. I actually carry both of these purses, and I get a lot of compliments and comments when I do. Thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like some more information, I have a few recommendations. The book Handbags by Roseann Ettinger, Vintage Purses at Their Best by Lynelle Schwartz, and Handbags, The Making of a Museum by Judith Clark. This book in particular has a lot of purse eye candy. I also found very good information online at bagladyemporium.com and willardy.com. I will list all of my sources in my comments when I post this video, and thank you again.